Peace. This is A and B, African man born on the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it. Let's get into it.
I am hip-hop culture, predator the vultures. Rappers getting high, spitting lines, I be sober. Never need an entourage, Pando who holds us down when I come around. Massachusetts soul child, say me in your masu. Knowledge will surpass you. Silly rap crews, walking shady as they move. I am the god man, I be living in the proof. I be teaching all the youth on the elements they use. Turn the television off, all the government is plotting on our sons, and we disrespect our daughters as we living in the slums, and we stay.
Peace. This is A and B, African man born on the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it.
Make decisions like a grown man and plan my future up for the unity to take it over. Gather everyone. This is who I am as I'm representing hip hop. I will take a stand while I'm representing hip hop. Gotta be my best as I'm representing hip hop. God in the flesh as I'm representing hip hop. This is who I am as I'm representing hip hop. I will take a stand while I'm representing hip hop. Gotta be my best as I'm representing hip hop. God in the flesh as I'm representing hip hop.
Welcome back to the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it. All right, so in the last segment, we introduced you to a brief of Clarence 13X and the 5%ers' influence on hip hop, which they have a huge, even to this day, a huge influence on hip hop. Now we're going to get into one that's a little bit more sensitive because of the things that's happened since 2002. And I'm going to get into that a little bit briefly, because it's something that needs to be addressed and needs to be corrected. A lot of things that they put, especially when you go onto Wikipedia, you look up these things. You have to look at things from a grain of salt if you're not into the studies of any of these men, right? But also you got to look at things from a standpoint of these people could be lying, the people that are writing these things down. All right, because they put things like when they talk about Dwight York or Dr. York, they name him Dwight York. His name is not Dwight York. Right? His name is not Dwight York. His name is Malachi Z. York. All right. And he founded as Imam Isa Al Hadi Al Mahdi. He founded the Ansar Allah community, which still exists today in Sudan. All right. So when you look at his birth, he was not born Dwight York. His birth certificate does not say Dwight York. That's one thing. All right, so that's why I made a mistake in saying Dwight York, but that's not his name. All right, his birth name is not Dwight York. One of his sons was named Dwight. All right, but his name is not Dwight York. But this is how they got him enslaved or in prison, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. All right, York was his name, and it was birth certificate was formed right here in the state of Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts, which it still is here today. All right. Born June 26, 1945, also known as Malachi Z. York. That's what we know him as. You know what I mean? Malachi Z. York Okran. You know what I'm saying? Or Malachi Kobina York, which in Swahili, Kobina means born on Tuesday. He was born on Tuesday, June 26, 1945. All right? So they say he was an American black supremacist. They also called him a criminal. He's not a criminal. Y'all labeled him a criminal because you attacked him for what he taught. But he's also not even like American. He's an African man. His lineage proves it. But also his family, yeah, he has an American background with Mary C. York. All right? So they say he's an American black supremacist. All right? And see, the first thing that you got to look at, they look at things like he's pedophile, child molester, best known for founding several black Muslim groups in New York. All right, the group that he founded, of course, was the Ansar Allah community. All right? Then he formed the Nation of Black, the Nation of Islamic Hebrews. All right? Then he changed. It's not like he changed them based on what was going on at the time. So therefore, when you talk about the Nation of Islamic Hebrews. He changed it from the Ansar to the Nation of Islamic Hebrews to the HTM, which is the Holy Tabernacle Ministry. Now we're getting into Judaism. We're getting into Christianity, because this is the things that we wanted. If you look at any of his books, he says, I came giving you what you want so you can learn to want what I came to give. All right? So he formed those different groups. They call them black supremacists because they were afraid of what he was doing. And the reason why is because of what he did in the 90s. Right? Yes, in the 60s, he was teaching and propagating and then building nations, building temples and getting teachers, building teachers. These things scared the Luciferian conspiracists that attacked 5%ers as well, that attacked Hebrew Israelites as well. Because the one thing about these groups that they all shared is that we need to get our black people to wake up from their way of thinking, from the white man's way of thinking. And there is nothing wrong with speaking against the enemy, especially if they act like the enemy. That doesn't mean that all white people are the enemy. What that means is you have to use your culture to defend yourself in your culture. And you have to build and stand on your own 2 feet within your culture. And these are what the things that these teachers taught. And Dr. York took it to another level. All right? So, they talk about the Nuwapian Nation, new religious movement that has existed in some form since the 1960s. He started teaching in 1960. He got his Shahada when he was 12. All right? He joined into different orders by the time he was about 18. All right? He built off of his music career, not just his music career, and his music career was totally independent. And then he decided to take that and start paying for books in schools that were predominantly black. So these are things that they don't even talk about. He's joined the black lodges, and he's created his own form of the lodges, which you have what you know as the AEO, all right, the Ancient Mystic Order of Melchizedek, and then you have what they call the Blue House, you know, his lodge and all the other things that they have, right? And then he got brothers to come together and work to build, all right, especially in the AEO, where we had bookstores all across the nation. And we contributed by propagating out there and teaching the real message that needed to be heard, so we can get people to come home. Because when you say come home, we're talking about like getting out of the system of what the European devils have put into our heads for years. Now, a lot of people are not going to agree with what I'm saying in this episode, but this is the facts. You know what I'm saying? So they built the land. They bought land in Georgia. You know what I mean? And the land in Georgia, 476 acres of land, was for us to come home. We build on it, we contribute to it, we build a nation, and then we await our time and build for our future, so we can be free of their system, have our own money, have our own licenses, have our own passports, have our own way of life and our own schools and hospitals. These were things that were being done by way of his influence. But what they want to do is condemn him as a criminal. Because I can tell you what they say right here I don't like putting his picture of the mugshot, so I'm not going to do that. But I'll tell you what they said on Wikipedia. And the only reason why I'm using this for briefness, I'm not using this because I can go into like a book and I can sit here and talk all day, but it would be unfair to those that got the time to hear Clarence 13X. It wouldn't be fair for me to go 20 or 30 minutes on Malachi, because I'm, in agreement with the nation and what we're about, because I study that, I've propagated, I went to the classes, I've been a part of teaching and doing guard duty and all of that stuff, and I'm still here, but I do it through hip hop form, you know what I'm saying, just to deliver the truth, all right, and there's a whole legal aspect to it that a lot of people need to get in tune with. If you know anybody that knows the case a lot better than I do, talk to those people. You can even ask me too. I know a lot about the case, but as far as any recent stuff, you got to talk to those that are in those gatherings and meetings about and if you can contribute as a legal personality, then we would love for you to join and deal with anybody. If you're in New York, especially Georgia, South Carolina, even in London, reach out. All right, they got him as, first thing they say, He's an American criminal, black supremacist, pedophile, and convicted child molester. He wasn't a convicted child molester; it didn't stick. So then they had to hit him with RICO. All right. They wanted to convict him of child molestation, but all of the things that they said that they accused him of did not stick. But they didn't have nobody in court to see this. Then they tried to torture him into taking a plea because he had people that they was torturing. Then the tapes that y'all see of him shaking his head, he never said that he did it. He was shaking his head. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean it's a plea. He has to verbally say that he is guilty, admit to being guilty. But y'all don't know shit about court. Y'all don't know shit about like how law works. So therefore y'all say, oh yeah, he admitted it and da 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 da. A lot of people that I talk to, they say, oh yeah, he admitted. See, he was in the court and he admitted. No, he did not. There is no plea. It was a kangaroo court, and then the judge that was in there, C. Ashley Royal, along with Sheriff Seals, all right, had it out for him. Opened up court on Martin Luther King Day, which is a federal holiday. That is against the law. And he wasn't even a chief judge to do that at the time. He put a case, he gave him, they wanted to originally give him 15 years. The crazy thing is Malachi he said, I would take the 15 years if y'all take it with me. And people was willing to do that until they noticed that, like, yo, he wasn't afraid to take the 15 years. You know what I'm saying? And the thing was, he took the 15 years because he wasn't going to fucking admit to no fucking shit like that, right? So then they said, okay, we're going to give him 135 years, have him die in prison. So when you look at a lot of this convinces people just off reading it. But when you actually know the case, York began founding several black Muslim groups in the 1960s. He was preaching the Ansar Allah community, African Americans, in Brooklyn, New York during the period of the Black Power movement. He founded numerous religious movements under various names between 1960s and the 1980s. These were the first based on pseudo-Islamic themes in Judaism, Nation of Islamic Hebrews. Later, he developed the theme park derived from the ancient Egypt, mixing ideas taken from black nationalism, cryptozoology, Christianity, UFO religions, New Age, and popular conspiracy theories. He last called the group the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors, Nuwaubian Nation, or Nuwaubians. That's not what he last called it. The most recent name that he called it now is the United Sabian Nation. That's what we're called now. All right, because people are not updated and they follow this crap that they say, right? This is why people are so quick to attack Dr. York and attack anybody that follows Dr. I don't care what you say about me. You can say whatever you want. Based on the case, and I don't have time to talk about it on this show, but based on the case, right? He did not do it. Based on the case, there's people that set him up that did do it. And then they threw his face because he is the face of the nation. You know what I'm saying? So to briefly get into this before I go into a break, right? And we're not talking about the case. Let's talk about the positive stuff about the nation and its influence. The information with HCM, the Egyptian teachings, the Nation of Islamic Hebrews, and the Ansar Allah. You have Jazzo, who was Ansar, who Jay-Z was under. Nas, he studied under the Ansars and he studied 5% Nation. All right? X-Clan definitely studied Nuwaubian information. All right? Killer Priest, who is a known 5%er, studied Nuwaubian information and he talked about it on his records. All right? A lot of these guys, from Grim Reaper from Grave Diggers who rap with RZA, studied Nuwaubian information. Right? A lot of these guys came to the class when you have Stetsasonic. Stetsasonic is the first hip-hop band who worked with Dr. York in the studio. They never claimed that he did any weird shit with kids or women. Dr. York was about that work. And anybody who's writing 1,000 books, who has time to have that much sex? But you don't think about this. You don't think that there could be other people in the organization that turned their backs on Dr. York and turned their backs on the nation by putting the face of rape on this man. You see what I'm saying? One of his sons who highly defends Dr. York, and I appreciate him for doing that because he was molested by older teenagers that know that, but these older teenagers throw it on Dr. York. You know what I'm saying? And Saul, he's open about talking about it. You can check out his videos. Type in for Saul York, and he'll tell you it wasn't my father that did that. It was boom, boom, and boom, and he gives names. I'm not going to give names. He gave names. So a lot of the people that's speaking against Dr. York know what this man is really about, and everything that they're saying against him is they're working the agenda. You see what I'm saying? Because Dr. York had a heavy influence even on people like me. All of my information that I put in my music, I got about 16 albums out. Or, no, I got 15 albums out now. I dropped my 16th. It's called God. G-O-D. It's based on Egyptian teachings, which people will call Illuminati, and also they'll see this, oh, Illuminati. Man, I work a regular job. I work for the city. Let's just be honest. Ain't nobody supporting me unless I support myself. I work for the city of Massachusetts here. You know what I mean? And I run my own businesses. It's a struggle for me, but at the end of the day, I ain't nobody's Illuminati or nothing just because I study under Dr. York and because I have Egyptian images. I was always in the Egyptian principle before I even knew what Illuminati was. And he even broke that down in books. So when you're talking about the influence of the Nuwapians, the Sabians, you can see it all through. From African Bambaataa, who's another person y'all condemn, right? And I can't speak on it because I wasn't there, right? When you look at the, Soul Sonic Force, when you look at what is it, dude? The Egyptian, what's the dude? I forgot his name. You know what I mean? Egyptian Lover or something like that. When you look at to even with the chains that Nas wore, when you look at certain things that Tiger wore in his images on his mixtapes, when you look at like a lot of the African culture stuff, a lot of that is Dr. York influence. Kedar Massenberg, who's one of the biggest music producers, is Dr. York's nephew. Heavy influence on the neo-soul community, which hip-hop and neo-soul combine itself a lot, especially with Common and Erykah Badu. So these are things, and on the next segment, I'm gonna get into the importance of why these both movements are equally important, necessary, and why we should understand the purity of its involvement. And I don't mean to disrespect by putting so much information about Dr. York, but I always have to clear things up when I see garbage that they put about him, because based on the case of what I study, he is innocent. And I'm always gonna say, free Dr. York. So I'll see you on the next segment. Peace.